What is up, Bears fans? Welcome to the Bears Huddle podcast. I'm W. James. This is your UK take on all things Chicago Bears. Guys, look, we're heading into the offseason now. Free agency obviously will be upcoming. There is a number of needs still for the Bears. And, of course, the biggest thing that we've got to do before we even tackle free agency, whether that's re-signing our own or going out and getting others, is to sort out the salary cap. Obviously, we are looking at projecting a bit over the cap. The Bears need to make cuts, need to contract restructure, need to look at how they can create room on this roster to increase the amount of money that we have to work with this off-season as we seek to strengthen areas that need to be strengthened and obviously consolidate areas that need to be consolidated. That is all Ryan Poles has got to think about, amongst other things, of course. But look, it is obviously an issue that will need to be addressed. Now, look, I think we can all agree that one of the big needs for the Bears to address this offseason, whether that be in free agency or in the draft, is the pass rush. The defensive line and the pass rush does need a lot of work. It was an area that I think let the Bears defense down this season, and Dennis Allen did a remarkable job with not always the best tools at his disposal. And obviously Dennis suffered from the fact we had a lot of injuries this year as well. The secondary obviously being the biggest area of those injuries, although we did lose quite a lot of linebackers. Look, you look at those sack figures, for example, and the tackles for loss figures. You look at the fact that Montez Sweat had 10 sacks. He led the team. Gervon Dexter on 6, Austin Booker on 4.5, CJ Gardner-Johnson on 3, Dominique Robinson on 1.5, Grady Jarrett 1.5, Tano Campasino on 1, Dayo Adeyingbo before his injury on 1, DeMarco Jackson 1, Kyler Gordon 1, Billings 1, Williams 1, Tremaine Edmonds 1, Jaquan Brisker 1, and TJ Edwards half a sack. Tackles for a loss, well again, Montez Sweat led the way with 13, 6 for Gervon Dexter, 5 for Austin Booker, 5 for CJ Gardner-Johnson, 3 for Dominique Robinson, 1 for Grady Jarrett, 1 for Tano Campasino, 2 for Dayo Adeyingbo, 2 for DeMarco Jackson, 1 for Kyler Gordon, 6 for Billings, 1 for Williams, 3 for Tremaine Edmonds, 1 for Jaquan Brisker, and 2 for TJ Edwards. But, look, you look at that, and it's not a picture of health for the Bears. It is not a picture that says to you, yeah, we are succeeding on the pass rush side of things. And the better your pass rush is, it also helps out your secondary. It also helps out your offense. It helps out a whole load of things. And the D-line and those edge rushers need a lot of work. And I think if you look at the defensive end, you look at Montez Sweat, if we could have someone on the other end who would bring more of a threat, who could be a guy who other teams fear, then you're going to put a situation where who the hell do you double team? Do you double team Sweat? Well, if you don't double team him, you've got to double team the other guy. And if you're not double teaming Sweat, it's creating a lot of problems. It's matchup problems, headaches for opposition coaches. And I think that's something the Bears desperately need to do. Now, there has been obviously talk of Max Crosby. He would, of course, cost a lot of draft capital. He is still obviously under contract to the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders obviously, would obviously be seeking, I think, to obviously trade if they can get the right deal for him. But they may well want to hang on to him, obviously, as they rebuild. They do have 10 draft picks after all, probably taking Mendoza with the first one. You look at this. This is the latest thing coming out, though. PFF lists Chicago Bears as the top landing spot for free range. No, he's not chicken. Free agent pass rusher Trey Henrickson. Now, Trey Henrickson is a free agent this off season. So what do the Bears do with this one? Trey Hendrickson, yes, I get is 31 years old. Yes, I get is coming off an injury. He is, of course, with the Bengals. He was with the Bengals last season. Played as well. It's worth noting he played for the New Orleans Saints under one Dennis Allen. And Dennis does seem to like bringing his guys back to Chicago. Obviously, we look at the success DeMarco Jackson has had, for example. This is a top guy in Trey Hendrickson, a first-team All-Pro in 2024, 4 times Pro Bowler. He is a very, very, very high-quality edge rusher. And I get that he's 31 years old. And I get, obviously, that he's coming off this injury. Now, that may actually help us in terms of his cost. He may not be as expensive because of those reasons. Adding to that, of course, the fact that, he is a top guy as well and will add to this team. Now, if we look at his stats from this season, now he didn't play a full season due to that hip injury that he sustained, but he still had a pretty good go in about 8 games, I think it was, he played in total. 16 total tackles, 11 solo, 5 assisted, 4 sacks in 8 games, averaging half a sack a game, 1 forced fumble, and 1 pass defensed in that time. You know, if you look at Trey's career, he started obviously in New Orleans, you know, and he worked under Dennis Allen. So this is a guy who knows Dennis Allen, knows Dennis Allen's scheme, knows how Dennis Allen likes to work. And I'm sure this is a guy that, you know, that Dennis is looking at and going, yeah, Ryan, if you can get this guy for us, go get him. His record pre this injured season, where he only played 7 games actually, isn't that bad. 17 games in 2024, 17 in 2023, 15 in 2022, 16 in 21, 15, 13, and so on. So his record isn't that bad on injuries. And if you go back pre-2025 to 2023 and 2024, he had 17 and a half sacks in both those seasons, actually led the NFL for one of those 2 seasons. You know, his sack totals are pretty impressive most seasons. You know, you go back to his last year in New Orleans in 2020, 13 and a half sacks, 14 in 21 with the Bengals. Okay, down to 8 in 22, 23, 17 and a half, 24, 17 and a half. 4 this year, averaging about half a sack a game. So, you know, would have been on course had he stayed fit for a pretty good season with a very bad Bengals defense. So, you know, this is a guy who brings a lot of threat, brings a lot of pressure, and, you know, is a very, very good edge rusher. 15 forced fumbles added into that as well. Adding that 16 passes defensed, a guy who likes to tackle, a guy who can stop the run, a guy who can also obviously stop the pass through pass rushing, through putting pressure on the quarterback. This is a top guy, guys. Look, if this is a goer, and I know the Bears will have to create space somehow on the cap to bring in Trey Henrickson, I think this is a no-brainer. I seriously think this is a no-brainer. You know, even if you get him on a 1-2 year contract, you're bringing in a guy who can make a real difference on that defensive line. And the Bears are, I think, at a point where we are looking like we are contenders. You know, it'll be 2 games from the Super Bowl, effectively. You know, but for a few wrong choices, we win that game against the Rams, we progress to the NFC Championship game, then who knows? Who knows? Now, I know Ben talks about the fact that we start from nothing again and we rebuild from nothing for this new 2026 season, but we're still going to have most of the offense in place. We're going to have a lot of the defense still in place. Dennis Allen will be there, Ben Johnson will be there, Caleb Williams will be there. This is a team that is building in the right direction. Check out the video this morning for that. So we're looking at a team that are heading in the right direction and perhaps adding some of these experienced veterans, high quality experienced veterans in the right positions that we need to strengthen will perhaps push the Bears over the line to being more than just pretenders, actually being contenders and winners in the future. Guys, I really hope they are looking at Trey Henrickson. Guys, let me know your thoughts on Trey Hendrickson. Is this a deal you would like to do? Remember, he's a free agent. He ain't going to cost any draft capital. Thanks for watching the Bears Huddle podcast. If you enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. And remember, Bears fans, bear down.